marketing and momentum. I'm your host, Jimmy Nelson, and today we are coming to you live from the Royal Oath Insurance Group right here in Clinton Township, Michigan. Big shout out to the entire team here. Royal Oath is more than just an insurance agent. They're your promise keepers. Whether it's auto, home, business, life, or health insurance, they're here to protect what matters to you most. You can check them out at royaloathinsurance.com or give them a call at 586-238-3535. And of course, today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends at Connection, the CRM built for closers. If you're a real estate agent, entrepreneur, or small business owner looking to automate, follow up, and close more deals and stay top of mind, then Connection is your secret weapon. Go to yourconnection.com and take control of your pipeline today. Now, whether you're tuning in live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, or X, catching the replay on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you stream, we're glad you're here. Do me a favor, hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this with a friend, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. All right, guys, let's get locked in. We've got a powerhouse show lined up today, and if you're in business or real estate or just building something big, this one is for you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Elite Real Estate Podcast on another fine Friday morning. Super excited to have you guys joining us this morning. I'm pumped up about this show today, as I am every week, bringing in cool guests and all those kind of things. So we are going to be getting right into this today, guys. I am super excited to have my friend coming on, Mr. Donnie Crouch. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you having me, Jimmy.
Of course, my man. Of course. Super excited to get you in, man. I've been really excited about Realty.com and all the things that are happening over there with us and all that kind of stuff. It's been like this trail the last couple of weeks. I've had, Via on, Wally on, now you're to the next one in line, I guess.
Yeah, save the best for last, right?
That's right. That's right. But man, you got into this business on the real estate side, obviously. You were in college and got your real estate license and worked your way through college, right?
I did. Yeah. I was just flipping houses to pay my way through school. So that's how it all started. I'm a realtor at heart, but always had a passion for real estate, and that's ultimately where I ended up taking my career.
Yeah. Now, how old were you when you got your real estate license?
I think I had just turned 21, 22, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So you just turned 21, 22 years old, got your real estate license, and was just like, I'm just going to do this part-time till I get through college.
Honestly, no. I had always intended to make that a full-blown career. Like I said, I always had a passion for real estate, and direction took me a different way.
Yeah. And so the crazy part is like I know a lot of people that did exactly what you did. Now, did you finish school, correct?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know a bunch of people that did that and then just like forget school. Like, I am not doing the school thing.
Yeah. My family was very big on getting a degree. I'm one of the only people in my family that has a degree. So that was important to me, and I wasn't going to come out with a ton of student loans or anything like that. So I did finish, although didn't really end up using the degree for anything, but I do have one.
So you have the paper on the wall.
Exactly.
Yeah. You've got the paper on the wall, but it's here. I am working for I'm the VP of sales for Realty.com now.
Yeah. Pretty much. Funny how things work out sometimes, but here we are.
Yeah, it is funny. What's your degree in?
Business economics. I switched it about 5 times. Originally finance, and then kind of getting into what you said. A lot of people start real estate and they're like, all right, screw this. I think going into my junior year when I officially got my license and things started to kind of take off. And so I switched my degree. I said, what is the easiest path for me to get this piece of paper? And it was business economics. So that's what I switched my degree to.
How can I get out of here faster?
Exactly.
With less money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's funny in real estate, how many people I know that got into it in college. I don't know if you know Austin Chevron or not, but
I do.
Austin was, so Austin, he was one of those guys, like he was doing real estate too in college, but his dad wouldn't show him his checks. Because his dad's like, if he sees these checks, he's quitting school.
Yeah. Yep. As a college kid, I can relate to that.
Yeah. As soon as those checks start coming, it's like, what am I doing? What am I doing in college? Like, I could be making so much more money.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's one of those decisions, right? Like now as a father, I look at this a little bit differently too, and I'm like, does everybody need college? Like it's
Yeah, my thought process on that has changed quite a bit. If you asked me 10 years ago, everybody should go to college. Now it's at the point it's not the right fit for a lot of people. I mean, obviously, if you're going to be a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, something along those lines, it absolutely makes sense to go. You have to go, but there's a lot of degrees out there where it would just be better to get right in the workforce and learn by actually doing the skill that you're trying to build.
yeah. Yeah. And I will say though, business economics makes sense to be a real estate agent.
Yeah, yeah.
It That's probably one of the biggest mistakes that most agents make is something in their finances.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm always like get a business degree, right? If you're going to get anything, if you're going to go into real estate, get a business degree or at least do some sort of business schooling, something along the lines, because you have to learn how to handle a business,
Yeah,
right? Like how I
yep.
got hired in the industry, I got hired as the productivity coach. And I didn't have a real estate license yet, but I had come out of the mortgage world
Hmm.
where I was coaching mortgage bankers, and it then because all I was doing was putting business plans together for real estate agents. So it was because nobody knew how to put a business plan together.
Yep. I think that's one of the biggest issues in the industry with people that struggle is they don't treat it like a business, and that's exactly what it is. You want the perks of being your own boss and setting your own hours, but if you don't run it like a business, it's not going to pay you like one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is, and it's that's across the board, right? It's that's so many people I've had on the show that have been in the business for a while, or have been around it. All say the same thing, right? Like you do have freedom, and you can build your own schedule, and but you need to build a schedule and then you need to actually follow it.
100%. For sure, for sure. You gotta make time for the things that are the whole working on your business, working in your business. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't take that seriously.
Yeah, yeah. What's been the most interesting part of what you've learned along the way for as far as real estate goes?
Well, realtors have to be a lot of different things, as you know.
Mm,
I think a lot of at least the consumer doesn't always understand that. It just seems like a straightforward contract, and I learned that firsthand when I got into real estate. Is that you have to be a therapist at times, you have to be a financial advisor at times. Like, you're wearing a lot of different hats, and that is much easier said than done when you're dealing with the largest purchase of most people's lives. So in a sense, I'm glad that I started out where I did career wise, right? I got to learn on the ground floor what a lot of these realtors are going through, experiencing the problems, and then ultimately being on this side now with realty.com, the solution and how we can help them achieve a lot of those things. But I would say that's the biggest thing, the biggest misconception that I had going into it is, being realtors all about showing homes and, shaking hands, kissing babies, but there's a lot to it.
yeah, that's the fun part, right? It's the fun. I think that's one of the biggest things that we fight with the general population, right? Is that
Mhm.
they think, oh, you guys make too much money. The whole argument over the 3% and this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, come right along with me and let me show you the backside of this, because like we always show on social media, we always see, oh, the realtor drives the car and whatever. And I'm like, well, the guy rented the car. It's not
Yep.
really his.
Yep.
um, but no, I think there's a lot to be said about that, right? And I think you are a business owner,
Mhm.
and you have to run it as such. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people miss or is misled to the general public. And I think that's spot on. What was your biggest challenge? Like, so when you started out, did you go solo? Did you join a team? Like, where did you start with?
I did join a team, which I think as a brand new agent, especially in my situation, joining a team is a great idea. I would encourage a lot of people to do that, not just join any team, but a team that truly has mentorship, is going to be there to assist you with your listing presentations and coach you up on, your cold calls and all of these different things. I think that's super important. I was fortunate enough to get started with a really great team that was there to support me throughout that process. And I took a lot of initiative as well. So as far as generating clients, day one, I was cold calling FSBOs, expireds, all of that good stuff, and setting my own appointments. But again, having a great support system, training, mentorship is super, super important, especially early on in your career.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I want everybody to listen to what you just said is like finding the right team.
Yeah.
Because every team will hire you. Like there's no one's going to say, we don't really want you. Especially a young college kid that wants to come in and hit the phone. Like I could have teams lined up here for you for that.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I always, that's the way I coach agents all the time. I'm like, you need to not be interviewed. You need to be interviewing,
It's a great point that so many people get backwards, especially if they're newer to the industry. I mean, it's understandable, but as a solo agent, couldn't have said it better myself. You need to be interviewing not just teams, but brokerages, and find the right fit for you that truly is going to provide a level of mentorship that's going to help, scale and grow your business.
Yeah. 100%, man. Like that's key to the whole thing, because again, and that's why we see so many agents bounce from team to team or brokerage to brokerage, or there's that dopamine hit too, that change, like, oh, this is new, right? And you feel happy about it. But then the part that comes in, and you alluded to this too, you still have to just do the work.
Yep.
It really doesn't matter what team you're on or what brokerage you're with. You actually have to do the work.
It's funny because in all of the years that I've been doing this, and obviously you've been in the industry a long time as well, you see all the cool new tips, tricks, AI, this, that. Nothing's ever going to replace the work. Just pick up the phone and call your leads. Like that's what it comes down to. You got to spend enough time prospecting every single day. And that's one of the biggest issues that I had early on in my career when I was, in school, was early on, I did a great job of prospecting FSBOs, expireds, got a ton of listings, and then I'm juggling 5 or 6 listings, and I just stopped prospecting. You can never do that, or your business is constantly just going to be this roller coaster of ups and downs.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man, it's so true. Like that, again, it's basics, right? And it's simple. It's not easy, because you do have to do the thing. I just closed the transaction last week. The agent on the other side, I was on the buy side. The agent on the other side, he's an engineer and works 9 to 5. I mean, so it was a struggle at times, because he couldn't answer the phone, or he did a great job. He was a phenomenal agent, and I was like, you need to get out of this engineering thing.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but they're paying me a pretty good amount of money. I'm like, I realize that, but like doing this transaction with you was tough, because
Sure.
He could call me at lunchtime, or he could text message, but he could, or email, but again, it was at the times he was able to do it. So everything we had to do was after 4, and I'm like, well, everybody else is closed now.
Yep. Yeah. That's one of the scariest transitions to make, I think, for a lot of people, is giving up the stable 9 to 5 consistent income and make that leap. Thankfully for me, again, being in college, it's not like I was leaving much behind, right? I'm leaving behind a part-time job at GNC, so it wasn't that big of a deal to me. But yeah, I think a lot of people have to make that leap, and at the right time, of course. If you've got a family and kids that you have to provide for, you've obviously got to be smart with how you do that. But I'm just a big believer, if you're going to start your own business, which is what this industry is, you've got to go all in and give it the time that it deserves.
Well, I'm sure GNC misses you now.
Yeah, they miss me dearly.
Well, and it's funny because again, retail, a lot of agents come out of some sort of service industry, right? Bartending, waitressing, waiters, hotels. Like there's so many realtors that I know that did some sort of, like I did the same thing. I worked, like my younger days, I worked at Foot Locker. So I went through the management training at Foot Locker, which is phenomenal training, by the way. I will say that if you need to learn some management skills and how to do that, like Foot Locker was a great teacher for me. So you guys go get a job at Foot Locker.
There you go. Locker today.
That's right. But don't do what I did. I have a shoe problem now, though. So
Uh, that's
yeah,
dangerous.
yeah, and I've passed the shoe problem down to my 2 boys. So it's an expensive problem. Oh man,
That problem, but I can imagine.
yeah, yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. Well, my wife is like, "Do you need more shoes?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." They have to color coordinate. You know what I mean? Like it's a whole thing. And now with everybody wearing them, like that's what I wear all the time now with a suit or whatever else. I get to wear my tennis shoes all the time. It's great.
Yeah,
So I
that's
blame Foot Locker for that.
that's the new thing. That's the new
Yeah,
style with the suits. That worked out well for you.
yeah, it's great. It's great. So where do you see? So you mentioned this too, like that where AI and all these things like technology, we're inundated in this industry with technology. Like it's just dumped on us all the time.
Mhm.
How much has it changed just since you started?
Oh, it's light years ahead of where it used to be. There's so many parts of the real estate transaction. I think a lot of people get caught up in how it changes for the agent and not how much it changes for the consumer. And you've been on
Mm,
these calls before with Via, and I think you had mentioned that you had her on the show. But with the cash offer stuff or just sellers in general, she talks about how accurate chat gpt and all of these other ai platforms can be in determining the value of one's home. So there's a lot that has changed from the consumer standpoint as well. The consumer is much more educated than they were 15, 20 years ago, right? And not as reliant upon a real estate agent to tell them all of these things. Now there's still a perfect fit and need for a realtor. You just have to understand the information that's now available to the consumer and find a way to still show value.
yeah, yeah. And there is like this is the thing. Consumers now have more information at their fingertips than they've ever had before. It's information. It's not always correct.
Yeah.
The AI piece, it's garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you're putting in, it's gonna give you.
Mhm.
You could do a Google search on your house and get the same answer. Now, if you get in depth with the AI and you start to really hone it in of like this is what this is my home at 123 Main Street. It has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, right? If you really give it a lot of information, it is pretty accurate. I
Mhm.
mean, it's pretty damn close.
Yep, absolutely.
You
So
know,
from an agent's perspective, just really leaning into that, I think the biggest issue that I see with the way that agents approach it, and I'm sure we'll get into it more, like the cash offer side specifically, but even if you're going to a standard listing presentation, to me, it's always about options, right? You have to provide the consumer with options. If you're going in there with the traditional spend an hour with them, here's how great I am at marketing, and here's how I'm going to find you a buyer, like it's going to work to a degree, but not near as effective as it used to. So, the consumer is much more educated, and you really have to lean into all those tools available to them to help find the best solution for them.
yeah, I used to coach agents on if you got a FISBO, you went through and you got to an appointment, like you have to know what the Zestimate is,
Hmm.
right? That's what it used to be. You had to know what the Zestimate was because they went to that Zillow and found out what the Zestimate was,
Absolutely.
which the A in Zillow stands for accuracy. But the funny part about that is now I'm like, you got to do more research on this listing appointment because they know now they went to Chat GPT or they went to Claude, whatever they're using, and they put in all their information. You don't know how much information they put in or didn't put in, but they're gonna have a pretty close idea of what their home is, what the market value of their home is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it becomes so much more important to properly qualify over the phone when you're setting these appointments, right? Because if I go into a consumer's home and they have the expectation of getting X for their property because they found it on Chat GPT or whatever, and they get sticker shock because I think their property is worth significantly less. That's a much more difficult conversation to have when I'm blindsided by that because I didn't do my research, as opposed to I properly qualify them on the phone. I know what their expectations are. I know what their pain points are. Like all of that becomes so much more important because of the amount of information the consumer has at their fingertips.
Yeah, 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 and So that it's changed. It's changed the game, and I think technology, like post COVID, I think technology just during COVID, technology just blew up during COVID, right? My mom's 81, and like did so 6 years ago, but she like we were working my mom and dad around Zooms. You know what I mean? Like we could get my mom and dad on a Zoom, and it was like, that was you watch your whole family get on a Zoom. It was like, oh my god. Us that do this every day, that jump on a Zoom and do that, work this stuff every day. It's kind of like, what? Do you not see the buttons? Like,
Right.
unmute yourself. Like, I don't know what to tell you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Um, and what? So with Realty.com, man, like the product, it's changed like since you started, right? Like, so you started. How long ago did you start with Realty.com?
I started a little over 4 years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And it started out as what was the product when it started out?
So the original idea, and it's still something that we offer, is this idea of citywide exclusivity. And it started, I know you had Lance on, so I don't know if he talked about this or not, but kind of how the idea came to be was Lance got into real estate, started his own team, wanted to generate leads. And so he starts going around and asking a bunch of companies, what can I do to buy out all of the leads that you have in my city, in Boca Raton, Florida? And I won't throw out any names, but one company in particular, which we all know, got back to him, and it was a little over 150,000 a month, I think, is what it was going to be for him to quote unquote own that city. And that's kind of how the idea was born of citywide exclusivity. You have full display on every single property listing within your market on Realty.com. That has since changed, not really changed, but we've evolved in the amount of products that we offer, because that's not a product that fits every single agent. That doesn't fit the agent who's been in the business 6 months and is just looking to, find their first few deals. Doesn't fit the person working part-time. So, we wanted to create programs that would suit any agent's needs, and we've really honed in on the seller leads in specific.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that we're working with you guys now is seeing how it's evolved.
Mhm.
And the without evolving, that's how companies go out of business.
For sure.
And I feel the same way about it, like even individual real estate agents. Like if you're not evolving, because there's so many agents still that are saying, oh, I don't want to use AI, and I'm like, you got to evolve. Like I'm 53. So for me to jump in and do all this technology stuff and all these things, even my wife's like, when did you learn all this stuff? I'm like, I had to learn it. I'm going to either learn it or I'm going to get left behind.
Yep.
You have to. Now I might have taken it a little too far, but it's helped me out though. Right.
It makes the world of difference. It really does. And I mean, nobody likes change, at least in my opinion. I hate change, but you've got to evolve with the times. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's important for all entrepreneurs to hear. But specifically real estate agents. I mean, we're in a market change right now. Things have changed a little bit in markets all across the country. Every agent I talked to across the country. I actually was on a call with a guy from New Jersey yesterday, and the New Jersey, he's like, oh my God. He's like, they're still in this really tight, no inventory, multiple offer, over asking craziness. And he's like, I don't know. He goes, in our values just keep going up. He referenced back, he said that there was a neighborhood. He goes, like 5 years ago, you could get a house for 100 grand in there, 150, 100, 200 grand. He's like, now it's 500.
That's insane.
I was like, what? I'm like, shoot, we should have invested in that area, whatever that was.
I find it so interesting that a spot like you said, New Jersey, was that
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
That New Jersey would have that issue. It just shows every market's a little different. I mean, you expect that in your vacation spots, your Floridas, even Texas to a degree. Their market is always going to be a little bit different, lag behind the rest of the market. But you go look at other markets across the U.S. We've got partners that almost don't want to take on more seller opportunities because their listings are just sitting and they can't find buyers. So it's funny how every little individual market could be completely different from another.
Completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. Yeah, and you're right. There's, with the seller leads, though, that product, there are agents, and then they get overwhelmed with it.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh my God, I got all this stuff happening. I don't know what to do with all this.
Yep. Yep.
Which is a good problem to have.
I would agree. Still a problem, but a good problem to have.
Yeah. I'd rather have too much work to do than not than not enough work to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so where this market is right now, and everybody's like, oh, we're waiting for the bubble. I'm like, there isn't a bubble. Like, there's just not. It's just not. It's everybody's been saying a bubble for like 6 years.
Mhm.
And I do see, what's been really interesting to me, and the appraisals have been really strange to me.
How so?
So they're all over the place, and I don't know if AI has made it better or worse.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what I mean? I don't know if it made it better or worse. So, I've seen values. There was one, I was on a phone call, and the bank actually waived an appraisal.
Really?
Yeah. The bank said, no, it's good. And it was like a 471, and the agent I talked to that got it, he was on the buy side. He was like, 471 is what they gave us. That was what they offered.
Mhm.
And then the bank said, yeah, that's the appraisal. He's like, I didn't think it was worth 400. And then I hear one that comes in 60 grand light. I'm like, we're all over the place with these appraisals right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can't speak to my experience with that. It's been a little while since I've worked on the ground floor as an agent myself. When I first got started, it was during the COVID days. So, I mean, firsthand how that market was. But
yeah,
it's interesting
drive by.
to think about.
Yeah, drive by appraisals.
Yeah, pretty much. I think the first property that I listed sold in 10 or 15 minutes of being active. Somebody was like, right by the house. They're like, hey, we're already here. Can we just go in? And then ended up getting like 30 grand over asking. So
yeah, see, you were one of those spoiled agents, man, that got in it at the time, that stuff, but you didn't have to put a sign out. You didn't have to do nothing.
Yeah, I really didn't have time to put a sign in the yard back in those days, but I was spoiled for sure.
Yeah. No wonder. I'm surprised you didn't quit college.
It was tempting. It was very tempting. It's like, this is how this works. Buyers are falling out of the sky, take listings, and they sell within minutes. I don't have to do anything. This is great.
Yeah, this is super easy. Everybody should do this.
It's cake. Yeah.
Why isn't everybody a real estate agent?
Right. My exact thought.
Now everybody is.
Yeah, pretty much. You can throw a rock and hit a real estate agent nowadays.
Yeah. But that's dropped off a lot too. And I think that's dropped off a lot too, because there is some work that has to go into this now. And I find it interesting with lead generating companies. There's so many promises of leads. I've worked a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to mention any of them. But I worked with a whole bunch of them, and it's hard because it sounds good.
Mhm.
It sounds good, but when the hard part is when somebody doesn't back that up, right? And I think that's been the interesting thing with seeing the inside of realty.com and working with you specifically. Like, you were an agent, like, you get it. Like, there's no reason to spend all this money if it doesn't work.
Yeah, for sure. I think in my experience, there is a common misconception of really what a lead is. It's silly, but I'll ask people on occasion, what is a lead to you? And the answers are always all over the board. In particular to real estate, of course, it's somebody that has an interest in selling their home. They raise their hand and they're interested in what their home would look like on the open market. Or if it's a buyer, a lead could be somebody looking for pre-approval. But it's really not a lead. Like, a lead is somebody that you have a means to contact. That's really all a lead is. So as real estate agents, what we want are engaged leads. We want leads that have some form of intent. Another great example on the seller side are home valuation leads. I don't know if you have any experience working those. Home valuation to me is not really an intent or a signal necessarily that they want to sell. Like, you could have 100% curiosity of what my home's worth in today's market without any need to sell your property. Now, Not saying there's not a place for home valuation leads. There certainly are. It's a great database lead, something to nurture. But we're more focused on the latter, which is engagement, right? We want to connect our realtors, when you boil it down to it, with somebody that has the intent to sell their home for some reason or another. And again, when you look at a lot of other lead providers, I think that's the misunderstanding. They have these different signals, and people are filling out forms online, yes, but there's a lot more to it than just this person clicked on this pretty house and gave me their name, phone number, and email. And unfortunately, from what I've seen anyways, both as an agent and on this side of the business, a lot of those lead companies, that's where they stop, right? It's click on this pretty picture, give us your name, phone number, and email. There you go. That's a lead. And that's why conversion rates are historically, 1% to 2%, depending on the source.
Yeah. NAR statistics say it's 2.4 for an online lead, 2.4 conversion rate.
Yeah.
When I was running large teams, we were converting a very good lead source at 6%, and they came back to me and they're like, how are you converting these so high? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, it's 6%. I thought it was terrible. And they're like, no, this is great. Like, you guys are killing it right now. How are you doing this? And I'm like, well, I just make them dial. I make them call the lead. I make them follow up. And then it's that build out of touches, right? We know that it's 17 touches in the first 30 days. And if you're not doing that, that lead's going to go somewhere else.
Yep. 100%. And like we were touching on earlier, there's all kinds of shiny objects out there with AI and everything else. Nothing's going to replace the work. If you hit on two things, and obviously your messaging needs to be appropriate as well, get a good script, all of that good stuff. But speed to lead and the 17 touches, if you just do that consistently with every single lead, you will maximize your conversion. But a lot of agents don't do that. It's usually 3 touches. They'll call, text, and email. If they don't get a response, they throw them on a drip campaign, just an automation of their CRM, and they just forget it. So that's critical.
Yeah. And then they don't look at it again. It sits in this drip campaign, and somebody's unsubscribed from their email, so they don't get it anymore anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think that's one of the things too. And you get to talk to a lot of team leaders and broker owners on a daily basis. I think that's one of the most frustrating things for team owners and brokers is like, look, I'm paying a lot of money and we're not following up with these.
Mm-hmm. From what I have seen, and the team owners, broker owners that I've been very fortunate enough to work with, when they all got started in the business, it was cold calling FSBOs, cold calling expireds. Like, they didn't have this influx of warm leads. They just didn't. And so a common issue that I see teams run into is you almost have to stair step your agents into lead programs. Right. So if you're a flex team, or if you're on realty.com seller leads, or whatever the case is, if you start a brand new agent off on that becomes the bare minimum expectation. You can't take that agent and say, okay, now go convert a Facebook lead or go call FSBOs, call expired lead. That's not what they're used to. That's not the normal for them. So that's a big issue that I see as well, is these team leads, they just provide so many opportunities to their agents, which is a good thing, but they don't build the foundation of making the calls and following up. That's always what it's going to come down to.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because that I say it all the time, as a lead is not a client. A lead, I'm not handing you a client. I'm handing you a lead.
Yep.
And that's all it is. Like, you have to convert it into being a client. And again, technology today, consumers have more than they've ever had before. So when a consumer can go and literally go to any website, put their information, it's kind of like being a realtor, right? Like, you can go to anybody will hire you. Any agent will work with you. You don't have to be specific.
Yeah.
So it's very similar with that too. Like, they're going to go, they'll go somewhere else. If they don't feel like you're resonating with them, they'll go to another website and put their information in. They're obviously not scared of that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the standard life cycle of any buyer or seller lead. They're going to fill out multiple forms. They're going to go to multiple sites. So, exclusivity is an important thing. That's the idea that we were built on. So, when we provide opportunities to our agents, we're not providing that opportunity to 5 or 10 partners. It goes to one person. But that's the biggest thing I emphasize. Just because we're only giving this lead to you doesn't mean we're handcuffing that consumer and saying, hey, you can't go look at any other site. You can't fill out any other form. So speed to lead, following up, the appropriate contact attempts, and being very appointment focused, get in front of that buyer or seller sooner rather than later. I don't know the exact percentage. You might know it, Jimmy, but there's a certain percentage, very high percentage of people buy and sell with the first agent they meet. So all these things are going to be so critical in the, your bottom line, your conversion ultimately.
Yeah. It's about 80%.
Yeah.
They work with the first agent they meet. It's about 80% of the time they work with the first agent they meet.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And then here's the other statistic that's really interesting is they did a survey and 87% of people that bought a house said they would work with the same agent again. Only 20% do.
Yep.
Because the agents don't stay in front of them.
Exactly. I forget who said it, and I would love to give them credit, but they said something along the lines of agents, for whatever reason, have this belief that they can just time exactly when that consumer is wanting to make a decision. You're never going to time. You're not going to have the right timing, call that person at the right day, right time of, yeah, now I'm ready to move. Now I'm ready to buy. So you have to be consistent with it. Right? The contact attempts are going to be so critical. And there's so many tools available, not only just the basics like your drip campaigns and whatnot built into your CRM, but leveraging AI and all of these other tools to consistently stay top of mind so that you're the obvious choice if and when that consumer decides to buy or sell.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is where the technology comes in, right? This is where now, like as our conversation goes, now is when agents need to plug in the AI pieces and the technology and the systems and all that. So that's when it needs to get plugged in.
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of agents reverse it. Like they're trying to do all the AI and like if you want AI just to write your listing descriptions, it'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll sound great. It won't sound like you. It's great. But if you want AI to actually work for you, that's where the rubber hits the road, is like when it can actually. And every CRM now has some sort of AI built into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many tools out there. And my advice or opinion, whether especially with people that aren't as experienced or they're trying to get into AI, is don't go above and beyond and try to do everything at once. Look at the tasks that you have on a daily basis that are taking way too much time away from you being able to go out and do the things that are actually making you money, and utilize AI to replace that. Whether that is emails, task reminders, the simple stuff. That makes the world of difference because you're going to be able to buy back, even if it's a few hours of your day, you're now able to apply those hours into prospecting, going on appointments, and doing the things that, again, make you money and grow your business.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man, you're spot on. You should do this for a living.
I might need a career change.
But it's true. There's a lot to what we do, and I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions too. You brought that up a little bit earlier, is the misconceptions of what real estate agents actually do. And we get the brunt of it of, well, you guys just golf all the time, and somebody said to me, I was golfing one time and I hit a bad shot. He's like, never trust a real estate agent that can't golf. And I'm like, no, I go, you should trust the ones that can't golf because we actually work.
Funny, I had not heard that one before, but I think I'm going to use that.
Yeah, never trust the real estate agent that can't golf. I was like, no, you should trust the ones that can't because we're working. But so Realty.com, this change in look, man, the product, it speaks for itself, right? Yeah. And being city exclusive and all that stuff. Explain to everybody what that is.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with us is going to be the sellers, and that's where I'd like to focus. Even whether you're citywide, you're doing seller only, and I say this even on my sales calls, as bad as it sounds, I will outright tell people, whether you decide to go with Realty.com seller leads or not, learn what cash offer leads are and add that as a funnel to your business. because it is, and I don't say this often, I think it's cliche, but it is a game changer. It really is. So cash offer leads, that's our bread and butter. That's our main focus. When you think about the consumer, and I like to almost compare them to that of like a for sale by owner, at least in terms of their mentality. When we think about for sale by owners, that's a huge selling signal, right? They're willing to put their property up. Clearly, they have some motivation to sell. They just have a thought that, going for sale by owner is going to make them more money. Statistically speaking, we know that's not even close to true, right? They're not making as much money as if they went with an agent and, paid the commission. Same thing with the cash offer leads. The interesting thing with the cash offer leads is that these people have the motivation to sell. But again, they think a cash offer is going to get them more money. They're saving on commission. They don't have the hassle of showings. Obviously, a lot of these things are not true as well. If anybody listening, and Jimmy, I don't know if you've ever worked FSBOs before, but if you call a FSBO day one, I've worked them firsthand myself. I've converted them, so I know. If you call them day one and say, hey, I'm a realtor, I think I can get you more money. Let's talk about listing your home. They're going to tell you to kick rocks and they're going to hang up on you. It's just not going to work. And so you have to meet the consumer where they're at. Now, the interesting thing with the cash offer leads is going back to something that I said earlier, every good listing agent should provide options. That's exactly what these leads are. You want a cash offer? Great. I can provide you a cash offer. While I'm here are all of the other options I can provide you to get your home sold. It creates a win-win, not only for the consumer, because they now get to choose what they want to do as opposed to list with me or don't list with me, which is what the average agent does. But it also creates a win-win for the agent. Even if you don't have investors or you don't have the cash yourself to go invest in these properties, you can leverage something like an iBuyer who will purchase that home in cash and turn around and list it with you anyways, right? So it creates a win-win for you, creates a win-win for the client, and you don't have the stereotypical commission breath, right? Spending an hour, here's how great I am at marketing. And I don't know if you know Sharon Srivatsa. I always love to quote him on these. He talks about proof over promise in the real estate industry, not specific to cash offer leads, but in my opinion, it's a great way of describing what they are. When you pivot into that listing, right? Let's say we show them the cash offer and they say that offer sucks. That's not something that I want.
That's not what ChatGPT told me.
Right. Exactly. When you pivot into talking about a listing as an alternative, which we know a lot of these people, they end up listing their homes. You've now shown them that I'm not just saying I can get you a buyer. I've found you somebody that's willing to write you an all cash offer. Now, I understand these are not the terms that you want. Ideally, you're setting this appointment in 24 hours. So I'm saying in less than 24 hours, never met you, haven't really spent any time marketing your home. This is the first time I've walked the property. I already found you a buyer. All right. Imagine what we're going to be able to do together when I'm able to truly market your home to my database of however many buyers you have. All right. So again, it creates that win-win scenario, but also it gives you that validation or the proof that I can find you a buyer, as opposed to, again, spending an hour talking about how I'm going to find you a buyer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and look, the interesting part, like we all know what the sales funnel is, right? Like, and we know that a ton of online leads, and the reason they only convert at like 2.5% is because first of all, they don't really know what they're looking for. Sometimes it's just they were up late last night and went on some website and were looking at houses and put their information in. They don't even know if they have to sell yet. They don't know if they're ready to buy. They haven't talked to a mortgage specialist yet. They're very top of the line. And so they're still leads. You got to work them a little more, right? And you got to stay in front of them a little more, and you got to work them down the funnel. And then we just know that some of those are going to work, some of those aren't, right? And some of them are going to be qualified. The rule of thirds, right? We all know the rule of thirds, and we work online leads. But where these cash offer leads are a lot different, because they're raising their hand to sell their house.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, I'm selling. Like, come help me out. I'm selling this thing, and I think that is the genius of it, of that they're much more farther down the sales funnel. They're closer to the bottom of the sales funnel, because not every one of them will convert. Not every one of them will sell. Not every one of them is a guaranteed listing or a cash offer. Some will stay a cash offer. They're tapping out. We're seeing a variety of reasons that they're coming in, right? It's divorce, it's financial hardship, it's repairs, it's inherited, we're seeing a whole vast array of why they're coming in. And some of them are super interesting, by the way. Some of them are super interesting. We had there was one. I don't know if you and I had talked about this or not. There was one. It was in Florida, I think, and it was a husband and wife. They were out for the day, and they put an offer in on a new construction. They hadn't planned on doing any of it or whatever, and they just filled out the stuff and bought it.
Huh.
And they were like, "Oh crap, we got to sell our house." And I was like, whoa. I've never heard anybody just buying a house on a whim. Like,
can't say I've ever heard that myself either. Yeah. Good for them.
Yeah. I'm like, honey, you want to buy it today? Yeah, let's buy a house today. Like, what the heck? I'm like, it's not like going to the grocery store and being, you know what? You want tomatoes today? Yeah, let's buy tomatoes. Right. No, we're going to buy a new house today.
I think that's funny. I can't say I've ever heard of that either in the years that I've been doing this. That's wild. But that just shows everybody's circumstance is a little bit different, right? Yeah. To your point earlier with them being more down the funnel, somebody who's raising their hand and saying, I want an offer on my home is vastly different than somebody saying, I'm curious what my home's worth, right? And so that is truly a selling signal, even for the people, and you've seen this with a lot of the leads that we have. People will say they're just curious or they're in no rush. Mm-hmm. Typically there's some sort of a reason behind that. Like, you don't just go looking for random cash offers unless you have some thought in the back of your mind that I might sell if I got the right price because I want to do X, Y, Z. And I'll give you a great example. A friend of mine, she just got her license 2 months ago, something like that. So I got her set up on an account with us. Very first lead that came through, I called it for her, set an appointment. And this lady, her circumstance was all of her kids have moved out. She's in a massive home all by herself. So she's not in a position where she necessarily has to sell, but she would like to be closer to her kids. Mm-hmm. Even though she said she's just curious and she's in no rush, that's still a level of intent in selling the home. So she ended up getting a listing appointment there, and she's working on getting that home sold for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I always use this theory, and everybody that's listening, that's seen me present or speak, I use this a lot, but it's the furniture store, right? Like, nobody goes to the furniture store just looking, but when we go in and all the salespeople walk up to us, we say, we're just looking.
Yep.
And really that's just our way to like keep them at arm's length, because I don't want them upselling me from the sleeper sofa to the mechanical one. You know what I mean? Like, so and it's this very same way in real estate. Is I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be 6 months from now. Okay, well, so let me ask you a question. What's gonna change 6 months from now for making a decision today? Right? And it's like, well, nothing really. That's just their way of keeping you at arm's length. That's just their way of saying, I'm just looking, right? Yep. Like, that's just their way of keeping you away.
It's so funny because when it comes to the scripting, at least, like, the average salesperson, not just realtor, but the average salesperson, they give up after the very first objection. Like, oh, no, I'm curious. Okay, great. I can send you a CMA. We'll stay in touch. Like, that's the end of it without any digging further. Okay, if I got you whatever price it is that they're looking for, what's stopping you from making that move today? And like you said, well, nothing. Okay, cool. So there is some intent behind that. It's just a sales objection. And I give a very similar example. I just say, anytime you go in a store, you're going shopping, whatever, very first thing they say, can I help you find anything? Like you said, no, I'm just looking. It's like a defense mechanism of nobody wants to be sold to, even if they are a buyer. So you've got to get past that.
Yeah. Yeah. You want the one, like, you want me to walk in. Cause when I walked in, I had to get some stuff from Best Buy the other day, and I walked into Best Buy and can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I need this, and this. It's pretty simple, man. I know what I'm looking for. I've already done all the research. I know what I'm looking at. And I think that's how very similar these cash offer leads are. They've already looked. They've already know what the value is. They've done their research. They're just trying to figure out, like, does it make sense? And some are in a financial strain of some sort that they need to get out from underneath it.
Mhm.
And again, where this market has shifted, the closing I had last week, the seller had to bring money to closing. I haven't seen that in a while. It's been a minute since I've seen that. Now,
Yeah.
it used to not be so crazy. But people do have more equity in their home now than they've ever had. Statistically speaking. But no, that's the first time I've seen that in a while, of a seller having to bring cash to closing to sell their house.
Yeah, you haven't seen that a lot in recent memory.
Yeah, and it's crazy because think about that. Like, you're selling your house. I gotta pay you money to sell my house. Like,
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah, that's, like I said, at least in recent memory, I haven't heard of any of our partners that have ran into that situation. But
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since that happened, but it just happened last week. But again, circumstances are different. It depends on how long you've been in the house. How much equity you have, or how much equity you've burned through. And go from there. But yeah, it's tough. But the cash offer seller, though, they're raising their hand. They're saying, I need help, or I need more info. Or sometimes I'm seeing with some of these too, is they are looking for more information.
Yeah.
Right? They are looking for more information. And that's where our service has to come in. Like, that's where what's your value as an agent?
Exactly. And when it comes to cash offers in specific, obviously, as agents, or most agents that are at least a little familiar with it, they know that a cash offer is not going to be anywhere near full market value. It might be 70%, if you're lucky, 80% of the true value of the home. Where I see agents go wrong, and not just with these leads in general, but just the industry, is we feel a need to convince the consumer they need to do this, they need to do that. In my opinion, that's not providing a good service to your client. Your objective should be, I'm going to provide them with the options available to them. We're going to see what their situation is, and we're going to try to make the best decision from there. And so when you think about the cash offer leads, I have so many agents who, on the very first phone call, will say, well, Jimmy, I can get you a cash offer, but it's only going to be 70% of the value of your home. Right? So you're really not going to want to do that. We should really talk about listing. And they wonder why they can't get appointments.
Yeah.
Whoever wants a cash offer, right? You have no idea at that point in time. You've never met them. You don't know what their circumstances are as to why they would want a cash offer. Like you said, a lot of these people, financial hardship, or they, on their Sunday stroll, purchased a home, unfortunately. And so the job is to meet the consumer where they're at. If you want a cash offer, more than happy to facilitate that. I need to do my job and ensure I get you all of the options available to you. But if you want to go through with this cash offer, if you feel that those are the terms and conditions most acceptable to you, more than happy to facilitate that. It's not my job to tell you why you shouldn't do this. It's my job to ensure that all options are on the table, and I advise you to the best of my abilities based on your situation.
Man, you're poetic right there, buddy. Like, it's but it's true. So one thing I coach agents on all the time is there's three things we don't talk about on the phone: price, commission, length of contract. We don't talk about that on the phone. Those are three things what's the offer on my house? Well, what I'm gonna have to do is take a look at it. I'm gonna need about 15-20 minutes, take some pictures. I'm gonna make sure I'm getting you the most amount of money for this thing possible. But I can't do that unless I come out. And one of the biggest ones too, well, just tell me what it is over the phone. And then my one I always come back is, I could absolutely do that, but it's kind of like giving you a haircut over the phone. It's really hard to do. Like, I can't be very accurate giving you a haircut over the phone. I'm going to have to come out and see it. So I think you're right. We rush for the yes. We rush to get off the phone. We rush because we're so scared of the phone to begin with, that we rush to get off of it. And it kills that. It kills that vibe and the opportunity to get that appointment.
100%, it does, and that's a common objection that I would say that you typically hear with cash offer leads anyways is just give me a price over the phone. And I think that goes back to, again, consumers have so much information at their fingertips. A lot of them expect to click a few buttons online and then poof, it's going to spit out a number, of what they would offer for their home. And so very similar to you, that's what we coach and train on. Do not give that number over the phone. If you give that number over the phone, you're not going to get the appointment. You're just not, right? Even if it's an offer that they would like, which statistically speaking, from a cash offer standpoint, it's not going to be a market value offer, of course. Even if it's something that they're like, okay, that's reasonable. You've given away all of the value, at least in their perspective, that you bring, which is I'm a cash offer. You've already given it away. Why would I meet with you at this point? Even though there's a lot more value that you can bring, the consumer's not going to see that. They don't know who you are. It's the first time you've ever spoken with them. So I agree with that 110%. Other thing that can be effective in overcoming that, because you'll get some people that'll just beat you down. Nope, you're not coming out until you give me a rough idea, this, that, whatever. I will give a very wide range, wide enough to where I know it encapsulates the true market value and also what a cash offer would realistically come in at. All right. So if the home's worth $500,000, I might say, well, based on the condition, if the house is falling apart, it could be between $350,000 to $550,000. I really don't know until I get those pictures. Once I get those pictures, I'm gonna be able to get you that finalized offer.
Yeah. That's the thing is I give this range, right? It could be worth 700. It could be worth 300. I don't know. Like until I get out there and actually see the home, I don't know if your roof's caved in. I don't have any idea what this looks like right now. I have to come out and actually see it. And if you want my investors to invest in this, which they absolutely will, they trust me, and they trust me to make sure that I'm following up and doing my job the correct way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a very reasonable thing. Anybody that has the intent to sell their home or genuinely wants a cash offer, most people are going to be understanding of that. Right.
Yeah.
So I have an investor interested. Unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, they're not comfortable giving you a wheelbarrow full of cash until they at least see the condition of the home. So they're going to ask me to go out, take some pictures, and send that to them. Would that be fair? Most people at that point are okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah. Nobody's just going to wire you $200,000 and never see what. And if maybe they would, I don't know. You got to find the prince that's in Europe somewhere that will. Yeah. Just give them your credit card number.
Yeah.
So we got a few minutes left. Where do you see this? Where do you see the growth in this industry? Like with Realty.com, what's the next phase?
That's a great question. And I think it really starts at the ground floor with the industry as a whole. And I've always been a big proponent of it's too easy to get your real estate license. And one of the biggest things I hate to see is how high of turnover we have in this industry. And I don't know if it's true or not. I would argue that you can't find another industry to where the consumer that we're servicing is obviously realtors. What is the turnover, like 70% right now over a 5-year period, or maybe even less than that? People are going out of business.
Yeah.
I don't know any other industry where we see that. And so with Realty.com, it's much more than just a lead provider. I think that's where a lot of companies have gone wrong. And if you look at the companies that are doing well, they have full ecosystems of support. That's training, coaching, scripting, automations. It's the whole life cycle of we're not just going to, give you a fish. We're going to teach you how to fish, right? So we're providing high quality opportunities, but we're also going to show you exactly what you need to do to have success and be able to model that off of all of the other top partners in the industry that are crushing at doing this. Now, what it comes down to is, are you going to do the work, right? And not everybody is. Everybody says they're going to do the work, but when it comes down to it, not everybody does. And so the growth for us, I think, is just doubling down on the coaching, the training, and that ecosystem of support, obviously bringing in phenomenal, coaches such as yourself to work with our partners and ensure that they have the full support of Realty.com and converting these opportunities. I don't think it's going to be generating better leads, although we constantly work towards that. That's not going to solve the biggest problem. It's going to be, how do we help agents win more, simply put.
No, man, it's true. It's true. And I appreciate the kind words, my friend. And one of the things that realty.com does do is it's a full service thing, man. It's not just here's a lead, we'll talk to you tomorrow. It's coaching with Wally and myself, and then you got Donnie, and it's a great ecosystem to be part of. So I am thankful, my friend.
Yeah, it's been great working with you, and looking forward to continue to build this and build a lot of agents' businesses along the way.
Yeah. Well, where can everybody find you?
I'm on social, Donnie_Crouch 10. I can drop a meeting link as well if anybody just wants to grab time and talk through their business. Whatever be helpful for your audience, I'm more than happy to help, whether you're a partner of Realty.com or not. I'd be willing to do that for your audience. So.
Yeah, check the show notes. I'll drop Donnie's link in there. I might have that, Donnie, on hand.
Yeah, perfect. Sure you do, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys, I appreciate the time today. Donnie, thank you very much, my friend. I look forward to it, and you and I will be speaking at some point today, I'm sure. So, all right, guys, I appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Lead Edge Network on YouTube, and find us everywhere you find podcasts. We'll see you guys next week. Sharing and collaborating, making the mark. Bright lights in our eyes.